I've often noticed that near the end of a recording production, there is a reluctance from the artist to finish the tracking or mixing necessary. They become used to and comfortable with the studio process, listening to their own progress and mixes daily. This avoidance is really due to reality finally setting in. When it's finished, will there really be a market for it? Am I good enough, or am I just an imposter? Do my lyrics or vocals suck? Is the band really any good at all? And what do I do now that it's really finished? The finalization sessions get shorter and shorter and more drawn out into the minutia, or even get canceled or rescheduled at the last minute for odd and trivial reasons, or perhaps due to illness and fatigue. The money might suddenly start getting funny, even from clients previously in good standing. Sometimes mixes get stretched out for days or even weeks past target due dates, picking apart mix details and structure, even lyrics and solos. Some clients may now just want to book an hour or two at a time, as if they were hitting the drive-through window on their way home from work, when actually, this is the very work that's needed the most. The big problem for you here is that you're in this business relationship to make money, not to try to coach them through the production process, not to give them their recording studio fix for the week. Their happy meal to go. For you, it's like opening the whole restaurant just to serve one basket of French fries. It's simply not practical or profitable for you to make the effort, no matter how close the relationship has grown between you both. After all, it takes the same amount of time to open the studio for an hour or two that it does for a longer session. To open up, turn all the lights, the gear, the AC on, and then do the administration work and close up shop at the end of the mini session. It just seems hardly worth it sometimes. So do make sure it's worth your while. Either squeeze these shorter sessions in between other sessions if you can, or gently ask your client to try to start booking larger blocks of time. I've recently developed and started to use a sliding scale with all of my clients to alleviate this very problem. I'll leave you a link down below if you'd like to consider using it for your studio. I typically used to charge for a few hours of my service, like say, mixing down a song where I'd spend 5, 6, 7 hours or more working late into the night, making the product just as perfect as I could. Then, when I'd figure out the bill for the client, I'd second guess myself and only charge for a few hours of studio time, sometimes even at a discounted hourly rate. I'm not exactly sure why I tended to do this. I guess I worried that the client would somehow be upset or put off when I'd ask for more than just grocery money for their song. I'd somehow feel the need to discount or cheapen my skilled services, even though I'm really very evolved technically and artistically. I've spent months and years honing my craft, working on many genres and styles of music. Watched endless hours of YouTube videos and interviews to educate myself on recording methods, both old and new. Read countless books and magazines and had many conversations with other recording studio engineers. My skills are unique and hard to master, and yet somehow I'd feel the need to justify why my process always takes so many hours. It's simply less awkward to just be the nice guy and chop the bill in half to avoid the uncomfortable moment when I must somehow tactfully present the bill to the customer. In a restaurant, it's customary for the hungry diner to receive the check after the meal has been consumed and enjoyed. Advance payment is rare, except in a cafeteria or in the fast food industry where you walk up and prepay at the counter. It's also uncommon for the customer to haggle over or complain about the cost of the meal, unless there's been some kind of a big problem. For some reason, recording studios have adapted this arcane payment process. The client usually pays upon completion of the day, or worse yet, at the end of the whole project. I always find it quite difficult to talk about receiving my payment during or right after the studio session. After all, I've just established a tight bond with the artist as their trusted engineer, a confidant, a person who can say yes to just about everything they've asked for. So it's now quite awkward for me to shift gears and suddenly become the money man. This part of the business operation is obviously super critical to the success of the studio. I'm not currently working in a facility where the manager or receptionist handles the terms of payment away from the control room, although I do find that to be a great way to operate as a professional studio. Having a separate front office, assigning someone else to be the big bad bill collector. I am, like many of us, a one-man show. It's perhaps a better business model to determine well in advance just how much time I'll be spending working with the band or artist tracking their song, or perhaps mixing the song down all by myself. So really determine just how long you'll be spending on it. Maybe even tossing in an extra hour or two just to be sure you have enough time to do a great job. After all, I can always reduce the bill if I don't use all of the time allotted. All customers love a reduced bill. You're suddenly their hero. No one wants a surprise increase, so I'm always loath to make one. Then I'll have an honest conversation with the customer to determine their budget. Show them your accurate estimate and then let them express their feelings or concerns about it, preferably not during the recording session. Better on a phone call or email well prior to the actual date. If they react harshly or scoff at the cost involved, at least you'll know this well before you've actually put in the hard work. And then you can make a good determination what to do next with the project. Perhaps working out a shorter session plan, or even allowing them the opportunity to take the files to someone else who will work cheaper. I usually do need the business though, so I'll present the old question, do you want it done right or do you want it done cheap? My best and oldest customers have figured out the true value of my work and have no problem shelling out the good money to have me working on their song for such extended periods of time. The point here is getting away from the old restaurant payment protocol and to establish more of a payment in advance process to figure out the package up front for the customer and then receive full or at least a partial deposit payment in advance. Even if you still choose to charge at the end of the day, you'll at least be crystal clear with the client about your payment expectations. You'll also avoid that awkward collection time feeling at the end of the day and won't end up burning the midnight oil without being compensated for your concentrated efforts.